Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. We are live. Aparna, take it away, please.
I'm your host, Aparna. Welcome you to a very special episode of Women in Leadership webinar. Or should I say a young philanthropist? Well, there are many titles these girls carry. Today I'm joined by three amazing leaders. The first, who is near and dear to me, Debbie, who is my co-host and a moderator for this event. She is a VP in media and entertainment business for TechM, and while she is not at a job, she is just busy being awesome. A daredevil. She's a daredevil. Continuously seeks new adventures, whether they are on the slope of a mountain with her skis or trying to find a new revenue streams for TechM. She is a zeal behind this webinar series. And if that's not enough for you, she is a dog person, a pure of heart, and a volunteer. And especially, the last, she is my mentor. So our guests have planned a very big surprise for her. So they want to pick Debbie's brain and understand what makes her tick, how to have an awesome career while not losing the sight of their passion, which is volunteering, helping others. These special guests, they live by the agenda, being a pebble in the pond who continuously creates ripples which leads in amazing changes in the world. As to our guest, we have two energetic teens who have been impacting hundreds of lives with their work and hopefully infect all of us today with their energy and passion. We have a lot to learn from these young ladies, don't we? So without being further ado, I would love to introduce our guest. Our first guest today is Aditi Mohan. She is a director at Not Knitted Knockers. She believes in giving back to the community, even at such a young age. She has started her journey with being a part of a Girl Scout program and continue to inspire a lot of teens and youngsters to join her path. Our second guest today is Maanya Mohan. She is a founder of NGO Mere Karma and focuses on connecting disadvantaged kids with the families who can help them. She has developed a platform in order to assist her with these efforts. Last year, when the COVID hit, she was amongst one of the few front runners who provided a lot of relief and aid for helping the situations back in India. So, without further ado, I'll hand it off to Debbie, who will take us away on this amazing journey. And during throughout this journey, if you have any questions, please use the chat options for to ask away. And at the end, we will try to get through all of those questions to our best. And Ashmit will help us in that effort. So Debbie, please go ahead.
What a wonderful intro. Thank you. Let's acknowledge something. Today is 9/11, and it happens to be the 20th anniversary. And I have no doubt this tragedy has affected each and every one of us. And I think it's important to do tribute here to the people that have fallen and the families left behind. So we thought we could all tell a little story of hope. So I'm going to start. There's a man named Paul Vento. He's a former flight attendant. He left Boston for New York to go to Ground Zero today, but he left a couple weeks ago, and he didn't board a plane. He actually went by foot, and he's pushing a cart, a beverage cart, like he was a flight attendant. He's doing it to honor the flight attendants and the pilots that were on the planes that lost their lives. He's doing it to raise awareness and attention and funds. And here is just one man that is doing something fairly simple. Well, 200 miles is not simple, but it's gone viral. And he's donating money to get this. He ended up with a drug addiction. He became sober 6 years ago, but he is now in a good place, good enough to be able to walk 200 miles. So he's donating half of the funds to Power Forward, which is the organization that goes to helping people with addiction recovery. The other half goes to the foundations, honoring the crew members who lost their lives. So that type of initiative by one person is making a huge difference. So that's my story. I want to pass it on to, I actually want to read what he said. He said, I know how important this was, and maybe it was them up there that gave me this idea. I don't know. Something just told me that I had to do this. So now to me, that's listening to your calling. And that's what Aditi and Maanya do as well. They listen to their calling. So who wants to go next? Aditi?
Sure. So, as you all know, thousands of service members and civilians were working at the Pentagon on 9/11. Just 30 yards away, 140 infants and toddlers were playing at the Child Development Center when American Airlines Flight 77 struck the Department of Defense headquarters. So, at the daycare that day, there were two sisters. 20 years later, today, they're both in uniform. They were inspired by the courage and heroism shown on 9/11, and they followed their parents into the military. And like Debbie said earlier, this tragedy has affected every one of us, and it's really good to see how people were able to change that traumatic experience into a story of hope and courage today.
And to think that Aditi and Maanya weren't even born then, and look at how it's affected their lives. Maanya.
Right, I completely agree with that. And those two stories are really moving. I also found another story that completely moved me, and it was about a man whose name is Jack. He was a father to 10 that served in the Army and later became a worker in transit work in New York. And on September 1st, 2001, 20 years ago today, one of his children, Michael Lynch, who was also a firefighter, and like countless brave and courageous firefighters, Michael ran into the building, but sadly, like many others, he didn't make it back out alive. His father spent hours digging through the collapsed building trying to find his son. But on March 21st, 2002, Michael's remains were finally found with the remains of a woman that he was either carrying out of the tower or protecting from the devastation of what was falling from above. After hearing about his remains being found, the family was obviously devastated and wanted to find a way to remember Michael and to keep his memory alive. So they decided, as the Lynch children, who had also benefited from educational scholarships themselves, they decided to start a foundation to provide scholarships to the children of victims of the 9/11 attacks and other disasters. And the foundation, which is now completely run by friends and families, have granted more than $2.3 million in college scholarships to over 100 children of firefighters and victims of 9/11. There was a father who lost his son and brothers and sisters who lost their sibling, but they rose up after the attacks and they all suffered and found a way to keep Michael's memory alive and by forever providing children an opportunity through higher education. And things like this and platforms and organizations like this are what inspire me because they're taking people that need help and those who want to help and connecting them together. And so that's just incredible what they did after all that they had suffered.
Well, thank you both for those stories. Let's do this for a minute. Let's all take a moment of silence and say some prayers. Okay, I think it's time to start the session. And I think what we should do here is really get to know these young leaders. So Aditi, can you tell us a little bit about your background relating to this session today?
Absolutely. So I'm a senior at Chattahoochee High School, which is in Johns Creek, Georgia. And I guess I've always been somewhat interested in community service. And throughout high school, I've been becoming very involved in kind of helping people become happier and healthier in their lives. So I've been doing this through organizations like Knitted Knockers and through extensive service projects like Nutrition That Sticks.
Well, can't wait to hear more. Maanya.
Of course.
Let's hear from you.
Of course. So, hi everyone. Just like Aditi, I'm also based in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm currently a junior in high school at Atlanta International School. I am here to represent Mere Karma Foundation, which is a charity organization that I set up 2 years ago, with the fact that I'm a youth ambassador for an anti-human trafficking group, and a huge fan of Atlanta United, which, if you don't know, is Atlanta's MLS team. And thank God they won last night. Otherwise, I might not have mentioned that. But honestly, I don't know if I deserve to be on this platform today. And I am a little nervous, but I'm so honored to be here today. So thank you so much.
Well, we're happy to have both of you. And I think what we're going to do is break out the session today in two different parts. The first part, we're going to do a Q&A, and we're doing something a little bit different. We're taking Aditi and Maanya, and we're turning them into mentors and to moderators. So I'm going to let you guys run the show for a little while, and then we'll go back to normal in a few minutes. Aditi, do you want to jump in?
Absolutely. So for our first question, Debbie, could you tell us a little bit about how you started volunteering?
Sure. Just to give background, I have done a lot of volunteering throughout my career. And to tell you about the very first time I ever did it, let's see, I was working at Variety, which is an entertainment trade publication, and we were honoring Jerry Goldsmith, who is a famous film composer. And it was a whole special issue tribute to him for all of his work that he's done. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be fabulous if we turned it into an event and honor him at an event, which we did. But we needed a charity, so we brought in the City of Hope and put all the proceeds to go to the City of Hope for cancer research. It was a pro-am celebrity golf and tennis tournament. And I don't know why we did that. We just did. Felt purposeful, and it felt good.
Wow, that is really inspiring way to have started volunteering. And I was just wondering if you could share with us where that drive came from.
You know, I'm going to turn around and ask you guys that same question. But think about the story I just told. I told a story about a man who's walking 200 miles. And where did it come from? It was a calling. So I think out of everything I've ever done, I can't actually tell you where it came from. It's innate. It's just a part of me. It's a reaction. I'm not sure what it is. It's nothing that it's been predetermined or a goal of mine. It just happens.
Absolutely. And we were wondering if you were able to give us an example of how you can volunteer while you're working in your career full time, because a lot of us are really concerned with work-life balance and how to achieve that in the future.
You know, I think that is a really good question for us to bring up right now for anybody, because if you're married, you've got children, you're raising a family, you're working full time, how do you volunteer? And I'd say what I did, and people don't have to do this, but what I did is I volunteered for the community that I was working in. So I was working in advertising and marketing and entertainment. So I sat on many boards for 24 years. And so I was always a part of the initiative for the industry, ran events, did a lot of speaking, did career counseling, did anything I could just to help prosper people in the community and prosper the business that I was in.
Right.
So it worked out really well. It was a really nice balance. And it actually, you know, at the end of the day, I loved it. I wouldn't change a thing.
I know you just gave us an example of how you can juggle volunteering with your full-time career, and that truly shows your passion and drive to want to help, which is just amazing and really inspires me too. And so to add on to that, do you mind giving us an example of something you did while you were not working and could have possibly done if you were working?
I want to start by saying what I did under this example, I could not have done had I been working. So I feel blessed, but there was a period of time when I was in between jobs. It was a few months, and one of my best friends was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I went right into this horrific place of feeling helpless, because what can I do to help her? And I was with her when she found out. So it really was meaningful to me. So I found her brother-in-law, and we co-chaired a big charity event with the John Wayne Cancer Institute and raised a lot of money for October's, you know, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We decided to turn the pumpkin pink, if you can believe that, which was a lot of fun. I really wanted to make it a big initiative to go across the country. And we took 100% of the proceeds, donated it back to early detection. And it's something that was like a 2 or 3 month period of time. I put all of my effort and energy into it. And it turned out to not just help my friend, but it helped thousands of other women here in Los Angeles as well.
That is such a wonderful story, and it really is so inspiring to hear. So going off of that a little bit, we wanted to ask you what you're doing to be purposeful today.
Well, over a year ago, Sumit Grover, who normally is our host, had asked me if I would host a session. I said, sure. And we were just talking about, it's a little nervous being a moderator, isn't it? You're doing a great job, but I'd never done it before. And I found a purpose in it because what I've done now is I've interviewed so many women across the US, across the globe, and I feel that these sessions have been really helpful because we're picking up topics that are really important. There's many I'd like to talk about, but another time. Anyway, so I feel like what we're doing today is making me feel very purposeful again.
Right. And I know that you've done a lot through your life and achieved so much. And as you mentioned, ran so many webinars like this. And so just to ask, I know you mentioned that it would take probably a long time to sum it all up. But do you find a common learning or takeaway from all of these webinars that you've been running?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, there's topics that resonate between, it doesn't matter who I'm talking to. I found 3. One of them was, it's very important for women to find their voice, especially if they're working in technology. But it's not just finding your voice. Make sure you have something to say when you talk. Don't just talk to talk. And that's a mistake people have made in the past. But that's important. No matter what, find your voice. Number 2, if you aren't invited into the meeting, you'll laugh at this one. Go in the back door. Still can't get in, go in the side door. If you can't get in, go right through the window. Just put yourself in that meeting. The other one is find a mentor that will help push you out of your comfort zone. So I kind of give Sumit Grover credit for doing that for me. But Aparna, tell me, do you find that doing this is pushing you out of your comfort zone?
Absolutely. You guys won't believe. I mean, almost 6 months ago, I was that shy that I wouldn't even come on camera. And it's Debbie's constant nudges have actually pushed me out of my comfort zone to come here and be your host. So Debbie, I couldn't thank you enough. You are an amazing mentor. Absolutely. I completely agree on that.
Look at how natural she is at this. All right, so let's turn this around. Let's go to part 2 and let's tell some stories. And I'm going to start with either one, whoever wants to jump in first. How young were you when you started giving back?
So I guess I'll start off. I don't actually remember like a specific time period where like the giving back kind of clicked in, but I think it's always been a part of me. When I was thinking about this question, one of the first instances I remembered is Jump Rope for Heart. So in elementary school, this is basically a way you raised money for kids with heart disease by jump roping and like jump roping competitions. So we saw the promotional videos in gym class, and all the little kids with heart disease were on the screen, and they were basically urging us to practice and kind of help them get treatment. And I was so touched. As soon as I got home, I started practicing, and you wouldn't believe, like I used to spend months just jumping rope after school to try to, win the competition and raise money. And I think that's just like one of the first instances that jumped out at me. But I think that it's kind of always been a part of me. And it's always been something that's really like kind of guided my life.
I love the fact that you're jumping rope and the whole concept jumped out at you. Maanya, how about you?
Honestly, it's similar to what Aditi said and Miss Debbie, what you said yourself. I don't think there was really a certain point in time or year that I can recall. And it was always just something that I think was a part of me. I mean, I was introduced to things like activities and groups like our school's anti-human trafficking team or our Model United Nations team, which taught me a lot and helped me see that there are many ways that you can help out in your communities. And then during my summer breaks over the past couple of years, I volunteered at orphanages and schools for underserved kids, which opened my eyes up to a lot more. And then due to COVID, I sadly wasn't able to visit them again. And so I created Mirror Karma Foundation, or at least I formalized it as a way for others, along with myself, to try and support kids that needed it. But going back to that question, I don't think there was like a certain time, like I mentioned. It was just that the people around me that introduced me to such amazing opportunities. and knowing that it's what made me happy is sort of something that just kept making me want to do it.
Wonderful. All right. Well, let's keep going on this topic. Maanya, do you want to tell us maybe where that passion came from? Why is it that you have this feeling to give back?
Right.
Is it a voice or a force, or what is it? How do you describe it? You can put it into words. It's hard, I know.
Yeah, I mean, like you had mentioned before, it's really hard to sort of just look into yourself and find exactly where it comes from. I think there are many different factors to this question. Of course, I completely agree that, it's just a part of us, but I also feel like, as I mentioned, the mentors and people in my community, all starting with just the people in my house itself. I mean, my parents, they told me to do whatever makes me happy, whether that was in activities outside of school or if I asked to eat ice cream that day, because, I love ice cream, probably like many of you. Or if it was just like during the process of trying to figure out what I want to do next or what I want to do throughout the rest of my year or my career. But they also introduced me to many different types of opportunities at each step of the way. They took me and my brother to orphanages, food banks, or on charitable runs during our free weekends or on our birthdays. And I feel like then after that, as I started growing up and getting introduced to a lot more people, people like my teachers. One of my teachers that I always say has inspired me is Miss McDaniel. She introduced me to a team that's working to fight human trafficking, and from which I have definitely learned a lot and seen that there's so much that you can do in your community. And then not too long ago, like I mentioned, when I formalized Mirror Karma, there were more people that were introduced into my life, such as Miss Ujala and Miss Shalini, who are honestly two amazing women that have dedicated their lives to give back to our communities. And like Miss Debbie, who I'm pretty sure I'm gonna definitely add to that list of inspiring people, all of you have inspired me and shown me a way that we can help out in our own small way. So I believe that these are some of the amazing people that have had a big part in influencing me and are sort of helping me see that voice or force coming from me.
When we talk about family and parents and communities and teachers and all these people that have helped inspire us, my guess is that if that didn't happen, you still would have it in you, both of you. But I think it's important to say that both Maanya and Aditi are daughters of Tech Mahindra employees. And I wanted to call off Mohan, who is Aditi's father, who I've known for quite some time. And I just met Madan, and both of these fathers we would love to have on this session today, but we decided not to on purpose. But Aditi, do you want to tell us a little bit about your father, your family, your community, and what helped inspire you?
Absolutely. And for the first question as well, for where my passion came from.
Oh, yes. Let's start there. That's more important. No, it's not. I don't know what's more important. It all goes together.
Absolutely. I'll just answer them together. So I think that everyone's kindness has a different shape, if that makes sense. I think everyone feels different feelings when they give back, and everyone gives back in their own unique way. So for example, my kindness would look different than Manya's and different from Debbie's, but I think that's what makes like every individual person's efforts more special. And I think this quote by Charles Dickens kind of sums up my thoughts a little bit. So it says, "No one is useless in this world who lightens the burdens of another." And that's really special to me because it shows that even in the worst of times, if you're able to lighten someone's heart or lighten someone's burden, it helps you in a way that nothing else really can. And I don't think really people are really have that innate value in them to help others. I think that everyone wants to, but no one really knows what they can do themselves. And I think that if you explore what interests you and try to find what drives you and what makes you feel important and feel special, I think that's really what you can do to give back to the community. And in terms of my family and my community, I think that they absolutely played a huge role in inspiring me today. I feel like I was brought up in a way that really valued service, and I saw the value in giving back to the community from a really early age. As a child, like my family participated in like food drives and like clothing drives. We would go buy canned items and food to donate. So I feel like even like as a kindergartner, like I was always kind of involved, if that makes sense. So I feel like it was kind of always a part of my life. Additionally, as a Girl Scout, part of our Girl Scout law is to help make the world a better place. And this has really stuck with me like throughout my life. In our Girl Scout troop, we would always brainstorm ways to improve our schools, our neighborhoods, and our societies as a whole. This led to many like small projects along the way. And one of the ones that sticks out to me was we established a neighborhood library where kids could exchange books, because a lot of us were readers and we wanted to be able to give the gift of reading to other people. So I think just like going back to what's important to you and bringing that out into the world, that's like one of the best ways which you can give back.
Great. Well, thank you. That was a good answer. I'm going to ask some more questions because I want to drill deeper into this because I really want to try to figure it out. So, Maanya, what do you get out of giving back? Now, you don't always have to get something, but you did say to me you get this natural high or endorphin from helping people. I love what you just said, Aditi, about lightening the burden. I think that's part of what would drive me too, because I want to lighten someone else's burden. But I really want to get to how does it make you feel? And do you have any examples of what you could share? So Maanya, if you want to jump in on that, this natural endorphin feeling from helping people.
Right. So that's exactly it. I feel like giving back sort of has like the thing of making me feel that natural endorphin, just feeling, just stress relieved and just feeling happy and good about it. I feel like it gives me a sense of purpose almost. I mean, at the end of the day, it makes me feel happier. A day when I either spend providing resources to someone or reading stories or singing with kids or organizing food at a food shelter, or even just sitting on our soccer field at school and giving my friend advice and something that they would actually use. I feel like just coming home after that, it just makes me feel so happy and feeling like I've actually done something in my day and something for someone else rather than just myself. And it gives me that purpose to just keep doing those things, to wake up the next morning and try to find other ways in which I can do my small part and either help a friend or, help someone that really needs it with in terms of providing more resources to them.
I have to acknowledge this, that Aditi and Maanya are so young. And if you hear what they're saying, most people don't get this way till they're 50 or sometimes 60 or 70, maybe even 80. My dad passed away 2 years ago at 91. And I found him to be more like this over the last few years before he passed away. That's a lifetime. And you're starting, the beginning of your life, and you've got such a wonderful, journey ahead of you. And I think you're going to inspire so many other people as well. Aditi, do you want to jump in on this? I know you've been trying to articulate it, but let's see if we can go in a little bit deeper.
Absolutely. So like Maanya was saying, I think it's really just all about like the little things. For me, I think giving back, it gives you a perspective, and it helps you feel more connected to the people around you. So this is what I've been trying to find, like what does giving back really make me feel? And I think the best answer I could come up with was really just perspective. I think that in the long run, giving back to other people or just connecting with them kind of helps you bridge the gaps that you see in our society, which I feel like is getting really stratified today, between the rich and poor, old and young. There's just so many different groups out there. And sometimes that new perspective is all you really need to see something, to see life like in a new way. And by learning to see the world through a new lens, it's much easier to be empathetic. It's much easier to be kind. And I think that giving back is almost like a positive feedback loop. It can only help those and those around you. And the more you give back, the more you want to do, and the more you think that you can do. So it gives you more ideas, it gives you more perspective. It just as a whole improves you and your community around you. And that sounds like really big and really like ideological, but I think it's really just about the small things you can do, whether that's giving someone advice, like Maanya said, just helping someone out with something that they need help with, lending a hand, lending yourself to be a volunteer, lending money or resources when you can. But at the end of the day, everyone just wants that human connection, and that's what the best thing you can kind of give back.
Well, I love the topic of perspective. I think you did a great job answering that. I'm going to jump to Maanya here for a minute, and this is a fun three-part question. The pandemic may have changed your thinking about being philanthropic. So I want to know what that did to change you. Also, I know you did a lot for people in India, but you also did, some contributions for Tech Mahindra. I'd love to hear about that. And then you also have a foundation called Mere Karma. I'm sure you chose that name for a reason. I'd love for you to tell us why.
Okay, of course. Okay, hopefully I'll get all these questions answered. But honestly, like many of us, I would say let's start at the start of COVID. To be honest, I didn't think it would get this bad, like probably many of you. I was just happy to be off of school for a few weeks. And that was one of the only positives I really got out of it, that and I actually finally got a dog. But to be honest, sooner than later, I feel like things started getting very bad. In the news, we always heard about hospitals and doctors having to start making decisions regarding who gets the resources available, who they will put on a ventilator, and having to choose literally one person over the other in a life or death situation. And previous to the pandemic, I had started an organization called Mere Karma Foundation, or Mere Karma Foundation. And so the name sort of has like a double meaning. It can be said in English and Hindi. And it means either my karma and just karma. So this organization was created to provide access to education and needed supplies and resources to underserved children. And so I started this organization keeping in mind that I wanted to get as many kids as I could connected to people that are willing to help them and get them a proper education. Going back to what Aditi said, sort of like bridging those gaps between, people who have the resources and want to make that difference or want to help out in their own small way, and connecting them to people who needed the help, who needed those resources. And when I realized how bad the situation had gotten, specifically in India during the second wave, which is when I actually got stuck there with my mom as we tested positive for COVID, I spent time seeing my neighbors and people around me suffer from the pandemic and not being able to get resources that they needed in order to help them. And so I decided to spend my time over there to use the platform that I already created to channel funds towards a different cause, but having the same mission in mind. I ended up raising a little over $21,000, which I then provided to schools and orphanages that I'm already partnered with. And then the remainder of that, which was about $3,100, I donated that to the Tech Mahindra Foundation, which I heard was doing such amazing work. But going back to the first question that you asked, I feel like the pandemic changed my thinking. It definitely did change my thinking about being philanthropic, because it showed me how communities can come together to help others. Something that also happened in 20 years ago today during 9/11, when there were communities coming from all over to help people that were suffering in New York, and show how people that are willing to help can support people who need help.
Wow. We were so blessed to receive the check from you, because at the time, Tech Mahindra was doing everything that we possibly could do to raise some money to help with healthcare facilities all across India. So your contribution was truly appreciated. So thank you. All right, Aditi, I want to hear a little bit more about your Girl Scouts experience. And I know you're affiliated for this non-for-profit organization called Knitted Knockers. And this might have something to do with breast cancer, which, I've been working in as well. So I would love to hear more about it.
Sure. So I'll start off with Girl Scouts. I've been a Girl Scout for many years, since elementary school. And I feel like it's really helped me grow as a leader in my community and become a better citizen in general. So I recently completed my Gold Award Girl Scout project, which is basically a community service project that Girl Scouts can do when they're in their older years. So what I focused on was bringing awareness to healthy eating to impoverished areas of Uttar Pradesh and Tamil Nadu in India, as well as areas of Georgia, by holding day-long workshops. And the reason I was doing this is because South Asians in particular are really at risk for type 2 diabetes and other chronic illnesses as well. And India actually has the highest number of diabetics in the world, which is something that really shocked me. I have some family experience with diabetes and other illnesses as well. So growing up, I was really focused on how to prevent this. Because really, like, once you get that chronic illness, you're basically stuck with it for life, you know? And if there are things you can do to not get it, it's really important to know those and keep those in mind, especially if you are at risk. So basically what I was doing is I was teaching the attendees about healthy food groups, how to eat healthy on a budget, how to read nutrition labels, and also portion control, because those are all things that go into your diet, as well as the importance of regular exercise. So I also partnered with a nonprofit in India that sends free meals to hospitals, and I worked with them to make the menu healthier, and we added little nutrition labels onto the boxes they send out. So of course this was all with help of a nutritionist, because I wouldn't have been able to do it myself. But overall, this project has grown like exponentially, and I've been so honored to reach over 7,000 people, which is way more than I initially planned. And my project was actually one of the top 6 in the council, so I was awarded as a councilwoman of distinction. I think all in all, this project has really helped me focus on areas which were close to my heart. Like I said earlier, I do have like a family history of type 2 diabetes. And being able to know that my project could have impacted someone and prevented them from getting these diseases, that's really important to me. So I'm just so happy to like be at this point now. For Knitted Knocker, go ahead.
Yes, I was going to say, tell us about Knitted Knockers.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, Knitted Knockers is an organization that's really close to my heart. So one day after a close relative was diagnosed with breast cancer, I found myself, searching on the internet for how to practically get involved. And I came across an organization that provides survivors of breast cancer free handmade breast prosthesis. And they look like this. I have a picture, or not a picture, this is one. So these breast prostheses provide comfort and dignity, and help basically breast cancer survivors achieve like that sense of normalcy after their operation, because they're able to go out feeling like themselves, not like a part of them is gone. And I was really impressed with their cause, so I started making knockers of my own. And after that, I decided I wanted to start a chapter at my school. So I went ahead and did that, and we had a little group of girls that would get together every month, and we would crochet knockers. After seeing how much my peers and I love the organization, I actually got in touch with the founder of Knitted Knockers to see how we could bring this to young people, because what I was seeing is most of the people in the organization were older ladies. They had retired, they were doing this in their free time, but I saw this new group of people who were young people in the pandemic, who were really looking for something to do, something to give back. So we ended up creating a youth program, which is called Youth for Knitted Knockers, and I'm the youth director of the program now. So basically what we do is just help youth get involved, help them start their own chapters at their school. And I feel like it kind of just bridges the gap between not only breast cancer survivors and dedicated volunteers, but also between like the older ladies that previously composed more of the organization and like this new generation of kids who want to learn to give back to the community as well. So all in all, it really comes down to that sense of connection I was talking about. I feel like people just crave this connection, especially when they're in like a vulnerable state, just getting diagnosed with breast cancer, having a mastectomy. It's a really raw and difficult experience. And knowing that there's someone out there who is going to create something for you and who cares about you, I feel like that goes so much further than we can really imagine. So I was really touched by the organization as a whole, and I'm so happy to be part of it.
Well, I am so touched that you both want to help at the level that you have been. And I'm so blessed that we have this opportunity today to discuss all of this with you. I'm hoping that you'll be inspiring people in the audience. But speaking of which, so let me ask you, Maanya, if you have any advice that you'd like to give the younger generation today that hopefully is listening to this session.
To be honest, I feel like I'm too young to give advice, maybe.
No, you're not. You give it to your friends.
Because honestly, like I myself like am a part of that younger generation that would love to get advice, and especially from you, Miss Debbie, who I know has done and experienced and achieved a lot. Even though I give, like you mentioned, advice to my friends, that's usually on like just like random funny things. But I probably have to say that I would say that I try to just keep working on the things that I enjoy doing and probably prioritize those things over other things. Like when I started this foundation, I decided that this is something that I want to prioritize over things. And the outside of school activities that I take part in, those are things that I enjoy doing. And like I mentioned before, make me happy. And so I feel like those are the things that I wanted to do. And those are the things that I sort of enjoy doing. And that's why I prioritize them. So basically just, you know, figuring out those things that I enjoy doing and doing those every day so that it helps me get out of bed every day happy, and it helps me know that that is sort of what I would love to do for the rest of my life.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Aditi, advice?
Absolutely.
Like
So
someone
I
else
also
listening?
So I also hesitate to give advice, but if I had any, I guess it would be really cheesy advice for you. I would say don't be afraid to be yourself. There's so many wonderful things that the world has to offer, and I think you should try to explore everything that you can. Like this is the time. Obviously, you can be older and exploring, but I think that the time you have now is just so important and crucial to kind of just do everything that you can to find what interests you. You have time on your hands. Don't be afraid to get involved with things that seem different. And don't be afraid to be unabashedly geeky about something. I think that just makes you even
I
more
love that.
interesting
Say it
as a
again.
person.
Say it again.
Don't be afraid to be unabashedly geeky.
Geek.
So don't be afraid to be really into something. I think that just makes you even more interesting. If everyone was just feeling like meh about something, about all their interests, then there would be nothing interesting out there. I never thought that in senior year of high school I would be crocheting like handmade breast prosthesis. Like that's wild. So I think that just do what makes you happy, like Maanya was saying, and don't be afraid to explore. Like it's not too late. You can definitely change your path if you're thinking about doing one thing, and then you realize something else might be better suited for you, or you just want to try something out. It's not too late. Like you can do it. And just believe in yourself. At the end of the day, it's you. And you have your whole life to work on stuff. And really just take the time to find what interests you and be yourself.
Aditi, do you ever journal? Do you ever write things down? I'm just saying this because what you just said would be so wonderful if you kept a journal and then later on you read that and you realize I said that at that age.
So I don't really journal. I think I tried journaling, but it didn't really stick. Maybe I should.
I mean, because what you're saying is so profound, and same with you. Actually, this is recorded, so you'll be able to keep it. But anyway, I want to ask you, DT, how do you handle people that don't have kindness? I remember you coming up with a profound answer.
So, like I said earlier, I think that everyone's kindness looks different and that every person really does have kindness. There's no one out there who doesn't have any kindness. But it just shows itself in different ways. And I like to find like what people's kindness looks like. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of weird, but I like to see like how they show their kindness. But I feel like some people can be really out of touch with it. Especially as teenagers, I think we have a tendency to become a little bit nihilistic and pessimistic. If the world is so like cynical and awful out there, you know, there's like no excuse and trying to be good. But I think that even though like people are trying to be like edgy or something when they say that, it doesn't really make sense to me, because if everyone out there is cynical and everyone out there just doesn't care about anything, then it's more like radical to be steadfast in your own kindness and to be a good person.
Listen,
I think-
radical to stay steadfast in your own kindness. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
I think that takes even more courage, and it takes more persistence to remain a good person despite everything else. And I think that if you go out there looking for the bad, you're going to find a lot of it. But if you go out there looking for the good, I think that will make the world a little bit more beautiful for you.
Oh, well, thank you. I'll tell you what, Aparna, do you want to go to any questions from the audience at this point? Looks like we've got plenty of time.
Yeah. So before we jump to the questions from the audience, there is a special message to Maanya from one of the person from audience. His name is Srivanathanson. I may have mispronounced it. He wanted to share an experience of Maanya where she helped one of his co-worker to fight, and his entire family to fight with COVID and the black fungus disease. And during that time, she has helped them not only just financially, emotionally, all the support she provided. So they wanted to pass along the messages and a good wishes and all the thanks that she has done for them. So before Debbie, we wanted to go through the questions. Just a vote of thanks from that entire family and from all of us, Maanya. There is one question, Aditi, for you from Sudhanshu. He asked, Aditi, how do you balance all the work that you do? And since you are still in schools, you must have a lot of activities with your studies. How do you balance all of it? Just tell us something about it.
So yeah, I do think that that is a struggle. I think every high school student struggles with that, to be honest. But the main thing is really just planning. Just like planning your day out, and like Maanya was saying earlier, just really prioritizing. So you only have limited hours in a day. And to be able to do what you want to do as well as school, it means that sometimes you have to cut out things that you feel aren't as important to you, or just aren't really helping you with what you want to do. So, for example, I think at the beginning of high school, I had joined like a ton of just random, clubs and stuff at school, because you're supposed to join clubs. And I think as the year went on, I kind of was able to prioritize what activities were actually important to me. And so I just was able to cut those out. So obviously, if you have responsibilities, that doesn't mean you just cutting your responsibilities out, but just taking careful care to know like what is actually important to you. Because there's only so many hours in the day at the end. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have. I think keep a planner, that helps.
So I think going back to the general, right? Like Debbie said, you're going to start maintaining one very soon, don't you, Aditi?
He's already my mentor. Same with Maanya.
This is a question to Maanya. Maanya, generally, most of the folks, they do not have their life mantra till they are very, very old. Like myself, I'm still trying to figure out what is your life mantras, and that everything that you do right now with your life. Tell us something more about it.
Even if you don't have a life mantra, no, it's okay.
Honestly, I don't think I do. It's kind of a hard question to answer, but I feel like everything that I did, and sort of back to the question that was just asked to Aditi and how she answered it, just prioritizing and finding those things that you want to do. And so out of every single thing that I do every day, I make sure that I'm just trying my hardest at it and doing my best at it. And I feel like that's just the best thing to do, because I feel like the more effort you put into it, and you can always put more effort into it, you can always learn more from it. So I feel like, just to put it into like a word, like a phrase probably, it's just whatever you do, just do your best at it, honestly. And I feel like that would probably be something that has been like my mantra till now, and probably will switch around as I start learning and experiencing more things.
Absolutely. Sounds amazing. I think that's all something we all do, right? Just try to be best at who we are and what we can do. So it's a question. The next question is for both of you. You all are already a leader. You are a leader in what you do. So when do you see your life going, and what kind of a leader do you want to be in your further life? What are the things that you want to explore? Is there anything specific that you guys have thought about? And we'll take, so Aditi will go first with you, and then Maanya with you. We would love to hear what you guys have in store, in plans about you. What have you guys been thinking about?
So absolutely. I think that everyone is kind of in process of being a leader. Like everyone can be a leader if they try. Something that's important to me is that it's not really about like where you are in a team. Like you don't have to be the boss of the team to be a leader. And sometimes the boss really isn't a leader, you know? I think that you're able to, in any position you're at, take leadership and take ownership. And it's really about gaining that respect from other people and doing the best that you can be. So that ultimately, like the leader I would want to be is like a compassionate and capable leader who can earn the respect of the other team members, and really just be able to work effectively as a team, because that's what's the most important. I think some people get caught up in like what rank or what position they're at, and they're just trying to like climb their way up to the top. But I feel like if you actually engage with your team members and basically become friends with them, you're able to become a leader, like no matter what position you're at.
Absolutely amazing, Aditi. So essentially what you're saying is you don't have to be a boss. You do not have to be anyone who is a person at a power or at an executive to be a leader. It's who you are, and it's your job to constantly inspire the young people. And Aditi, I can see that you already do that with a lot of your friends, your youngsters and others, right? So Manya, how about you? Do you want to give some light to what Aditi said just now?
Yeah, of course. I honestly completely agree with what Aditi said. I feel like there are also these attributes or skills that show what a leader is. And I feel like anyone and everyone has those. It's just through the different experiences and opportunities that you have, those are the things that help you develop those skills and those attributes. Um, and I completely agree with the sense that you can be, and everyone has leadership attributes and skills. It's just how you use those and how hard you try to, work with others to use those. And I feel like what if I was to like pick like leadership skills or attributes that I find most important in myself, it would be similar to what Aditi said in terms of having sort of or knowing that you're not the only one. There are other people in the team and everyone has strong suits. So sort of being there for others, listening to them and sort of being easy to approach, I feel like that's really important. A lot of the times, I think of a leader in my head, it's always someone who's just on top and bossing people around. And I feel like that's what a lot of people see. I would always think that, just be approachable, be honest, and just work hard. I feel like back to like sort of that mantra that I just chose out all of a sudden. I feel like that's just connecting to everything now. But just work hard. And I feel like, yeah, everyone just has those skills and attributes.
So the most important thing is be true to yourself, right? There is one very interesting question from the audience. Nowadays, all young children, specifically teenagers, have a mobile addiction. What are your views about it? How much time do you spend? And I think the audience are interested to know. So youngsters such as yourself, how have you achieved it? Are you being bogged down by that addiction, or does it help you in doing your work in any way? So Aditi, Maanya, open to you. Anyone can answer that question.
I guess I can go ahead and start off, and I guess I'll expose myself a little bit. I think that I do spend too much time on my phone. I think I have like a screen time of like 5 or 6 hours, so it's probably way higher than it needs to be honest. And it's of course gone down. I think it's probably gone down a few hours once school has started. But in the pandemic, when there was virtual school, it was really difficult. And I think it really just comes down to the fact that there's mindless entertainment on your phone available for you. And the best thing you can do to kind of stave it away, in my opinion, is just having other hobbies and other things to do. So I like to play piano, so I'll just be on the piano for 1 or 2 hours, and those are 2 hours not spent like scrolling on your phone. or like I'll be crocheting these knockers, or I'll be just crocheting. I think finding the time to actually talk to your friends and things like that is also really important. So I feel like phone addiction is really difficult, but if you're using the phone in a way to like meet people sometimes, I think it's okay. Like if you're on the phone with your friends for an hour in like a week, I feel like in an online environment in the pandemic, like I feel that's excusable, but of course that depends per person. I think it's a difficult topic because a lot of teens today are just so into their phones. And it's probably not good for us. So we just have to kind of keep an eye on it. And if it's getting too excessive, just be able to like kind of cut yourself off. So maybe just don't have your phone with you at night, or just like give it to your parents or something. That's what I try to do. Or just don't engage with it. It's a difficult topic, and I'm not saying I'm like immune to it by any means.
I'm in the same place with it. I think we all are. I think the pandemic, brought us closer to being social through our phone more so than it did in person. And now we're used to it. So we have to kind of break that.
I completely agree. Honestly, it's like the same thing for me. I feel like any teenager these days is gonna be always on their phone. I know I am, especially with like TikTok now and all these new social medias. Of course, we always find like reasoning, oh, like it's teaching me things. And of course it does. And it shows us so much more. But at the same time, there are also negatives to it. Sadly, there are. Otherwise, I would be on my phone all day. I love watching Netflix and all those kind of things. But I feel like the same thing to what Aditi said. If you want to sort of step away from your phone, some things that I do is having that planner and that agenda, making sure that I get work done first and then use my phone, or sort of reward myself. That way I don't have sort of that feeling that, oh, like I haven't done it at all, so I'll go sit on my phone for 3 hours now. So instead, like sort of like breaking it down is what I try to do. Does it work? Sometimes not. It depends. But yeah, I think it's just prioritizing other things and using it as sort of a way to reward yourself. And of course, during this past couple of months in COVID, our phones were some of the only ways that we could use in order to connect to our friends. I know I live about an hour away from school, so I don't live near any of my friends. And so it's really hard to sort of stay in touch with them. So of course, like social media has its positives. I mean, we're all here today because of social media, and everyone here in the audience is here because of social media, because they heard about it through that. And I feel like that's what connects all of us these days. And so there are, of course, good things, but also bad things to it.
Sounds amazing. I think with that, since we have only 2 minutes left, I can't end this session by, even enough thank yous. Thank you so much, Aditi, Maanya, for your hour on weekends from your busy schedules. I know how much juggling you guys are doing on day to day. So thank you so much for coming and inspiring all of us and 100 more who will be listening to this webinar. And I know we would be circulating your connect info so that hopefully there are many more folks who come forward and volunteer for your beautiful causes. Thank you so much, guys, for your availability for today. Thanks a lot. Ashmit, back to you.
Thank you. That was great. That was amazing. And I'm just sitting here thinking that I'm not doing enough, and I need to start working on myself and working on things that I need to do. So thank you so much, Maanya. Thank you so much, Aditi. Again, this was amazing. Thanks everyone for joining in, and have a lovely day, rest of the day. All right, that's it. Bye-bye.
Be in
Bye,
touch.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.